Rivian's electronic door latch system has gotten kind of a lot of heat online. They're a company that's known for pushing the envelope when it comes to engineering and design, and that's gotten them a lot of really cool, unique features that they have in their vehicle. And while they're certainly far from the first to implement an electronic door latch system, they have been taking a lot of heat for that decision. A lot of people are concerned about the safety of it, but they maintain that it's a very well thought through and safe system. So in this one, I want to take a look at exactly how the system works, what its safety features are, and let you decide if you think that it's a well-engineered safe system or if you'd rather have a mechanical latch. Let's dive into it. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Mike, you're watching Thunderbolt Auto, and in this one, we're doing a deep dive on exactly how Rivian's electronic door latch system works. If you like diving into the technical details of how EVs work, hit subscribe because that's my bread and butter. Before we get into how the E-Latch system works, let's talk about how a more traditional door latching system works to set the stage. The first component, and the most important, is the latch itself. It's a dual latch system that has two stages for redundancy. This is federally mandated, and that's why every car has it. And the best way to notice this is when you shut a car door but you don't close it with enough force, the door ends up latched, but it's still like partway open and not flush against the vehicle. That's a result of that redundant latching system. This door latch is typically connected to a handle on the outside of the door and on the inside of the door with a cable. So when you pull on the handle on the inside or the outside, it pulls a cable and it unlatches the door. Another physical component inside of the door is the locking mechanism. The locking mechanism allows it to disengage the latch so that when you pull on the door handle, it doesn't actually physically open that latch. There's also usually a power lock solenoid in there that can actuate whether the lock is engaged or not, that way preventing people from entering your vehicle when you're away from it. And adding to this, in the rear of the vehicle, most have a child lock. This is another mechanical system that's sort of like the door lock that can disengage only the inside handle, so that way small children can pull on the handle all they want, but it won't actually open the door and become a safety hazard. And it all works pretty simply operationally, but when you think about it, there's actually a lot of mechanical complexity there. You have the two-stage latch, you have a locking mechanism with its own motor, you have an extra layer of the child lock on top of that, and every one of these components represents an additional cost for manufacturing that vehicle. So while operationally that mechanical system is pretty straightforward and easy to understand, mechanically, there's actually a lot of somewhat complicated layers to it with the multiple locking mechanisms, the child lock that only locks out one of the door handles. There's a lot happening there mechanically, and each of these mechanical components adds a little bit of complexity and cost to the vehicle. And that may be part of why Rivian wanted to move towards an electronic latching system. So now that we have that as a baseline, let's talk about the electronic door latch system and what Rivian has done for theirs specifically. While again, they're certainly not the first vehicle to implement an electronic door latch, they did take a lot of considerations into how to make this safe and reliable. But first, I just want to give a quick shout out to Vion for sponsoring this video. It is ridiculously hot during the Utah summer, and they sent out some sunshades that are great at killing the heat. You can use my discount code TVOLT to get 10% off, and they have both Tesla and Rivian accessories, so go check them out. Electronic door latch mechanisms have actually been around for quite a long time in the auto industry. A great example of this is this 2015 Corvette that has an electronic door latch that has an emergency mechanical release that's kind of located on the floor right here. And Tesla, of course, has been doing electronic door latches for a long time. So Rivian certainly is not doing something crazy that no one else has ever done before, but let's talk about their implementation specifically. What Rivian has done here with their electronic door latch system is they've taken a lot of that mechanical complexity for all of the door locks and child locks, and they've just replaced it with electronic controls instead. So the only physical mechanical component that's still inside of the door is the door latch itself. And it's that same dual latch redundant system that's on every vehicle on sale, but it has an extra little solenoid that can actuate the latch and open it up. So then the question becomes, how do you lock the door? If there's no locking mechanism, how do you make sure? Well, it's just controlled electronically, so the computer can say the door is locked or the door is unlocked. And when you hit lock or unlock, nothing physically happens. It just is the computer deciding whether it will respond to someone pushing the button or pulling on the door handle or not. If the door is locked, it won't respond, and that's that. So it takes that physical complexity and puts it on the computer instead. What about the child lock? Well, same deal. The child lock is just a digital parameter set in the computer. And the advantage of this is that you can actually set it on the fly while you're sitting in your seat. You don't have to physically get out, open the door, and change the child lock setting. So it's a little bit of convenience there. But what about emergency situations? One of the biggest fears with this electronic door latching system is that it runs on electricity. So what if you get in an accident and the car loses power? Well, then what? Well, this is a real fear with an electronic door latch system. And there's a couple of ways around this. The first workaround with this is just the physical backup latch. On the R1, it's located right here on the front of the door panel, and you pull on it like this and it just opens up the door. But this isn't quite the same as the door handle that was found in Rivian's Gen 1 vehicles, because that one had a more typical physical locking mechanism. This one, on the other hand, just is connected straight to the latch. And because there's no locking mechanism in between, it's just physically connected to the latch itself. So it will always open the door no matter what. If the doors are locked, if the doors are unlocked, if you're going 0 miles per hour or you're going 80 on the freeway, it does not matter. Anytime you pull on that physical door handle, it will open the door. Which on the surface sounds great. During an emergency situation, you want something that will just work every time without fail. But this poses a little bit of a problem when you put it in the backseat of the vehicle. One of the things that Rivian has taken the most heat for with this electronic door latch system is not having an easily accessible door latch like this on the back. You have to pull that armrest up, and it's a little cable that you have to fish for down inside of there. Clearly, that's meant more for servicing the vehicle than it is for an emergency situation. So why wouldn't they just put a similar latch in the back? Well, it comes down to safety because, like I said before, there's no physical lock mechanism. It's just a cable connected straight to that latch. So if you were to put one of those in the back and a curious child finds that lever and pulls on it, it would absolutely open that door at any speed. And that is a real danger to children. Even if you don't have the child locks turned on, almost every modern vehicle will lock the doors at speed. And when the doors are locked, the inside door handle won't open. So, you have a little bit of a layer of safety there. But if you were to have this handle there, that layer of safety is gone and you could easily just open that door at highway speed. That said, on the R2, Rivian has kind of rethought where this is positioned and how it works because they've heard people's desire to have a more accessible way to physically, mechanically open that door. So instead of having a physical door latch that's just there and accessible, they have a panel that's specifically for this release, and it's a little bit easier to pull off, and you still have to reach inside of the door and pull a cable, and it's sort of a medium in between where it's easier to get to, but it's not instantly accessible and possibly dangerous for children. And on top of that, there's also some electronic redundancy that's happening here. The vehicle has zonal controllers, meaning it's a computer that controls an entire zone of the car. So on R1 Gen 2, you have a west zone controller on the left side and an east zone controller on the right side. And each computer controls everything that happens all on that side, all of the door locks, lighting, etc. And this is the same on the R2 as well. And they've actually made it so that those two zones are wired together and can talk to each other. So in the event that one of these controllers ends up losing power or dying, the zone controller from the other side of the vehicle can actually pick up the slack and make the door latches work on the other side so that passengers can get out more easily. So that provides a little bit of a layer of redundancy. But of course, even with all of those redundancies, there is still that worst case scenario that no one ever wants to happen, but is possible, where the vehicle has been hit hard enough that it damages the wiring that's deep within the vehicle, and the doors do lose power and the electronic latches are no longer able to function. While this is a rare scenario, it is quite possible. And one of the thoughts on this is, if the vehicle has really been damaged that badly that it gets to the wiring deep within the body of the vehicle, chances are the doors themselves have been damaged to the point that even if the latch was working, they wouldn't physically be able to open anyway. And while that's probably true in some cases, it's not necessarily true in every case, and this is just a real downside of the electronic door latch system. It's an extremely rare scenario, but it is possible. So that's how Rivian's electronic door latch system works, safety measures and all. But as everything is with engineering topics, it's never a clean, this system is better in every way and this system is worse in every way. It's a series of trade-offs, and you have to choose which trade-offs are important to you, which compromises you're willing to live with. So in this case, the electronic door latches have the benefit of being a lot cheaper and less complex to manufacture, and they give the consumer a lot more flexibility and possibly some extra features. Like, for example, child door locks can automatically disable in the event of an accident. So that way, a small child isn't trapped inside the car waiting for an adult to get them out after an accident. But of course, the con is, in that rare event where the vehicle does lose all power after a major accident, the electronic door latches quit working. On the other hand, you have the physical mechanical door latches that are relatively easy to understand in principle, but there's a lot of mechanical complexity behind how they work, which costs a little bit more money to manufacture and has more potential to need repair in the future. So there's the comparison of each system. It's not very cleanly one is better in every single scenario or one is worse in every single scenario. While Rivian's E-Latch system certainly does have its shortcomings, just like any other vehicle with an E-Latch system, it's also not without its redundancies and safety thought built in as well. So what do you think? Knowing the pros and cons of each system and the safety features that each one has, what would your trade-off be? Would you have chosen the route that Rivian did, or would you have stuck with the mechanical door latches? Let me know down below, and don't forget to hit subscribe because we'll be doing more of these deep dives in the future. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more technical deep dives on how Rivian tech works, check out this video where I actually talked about the new Rivian autonomy chip and whether that actually makes a difference in the real world. So definitely worth a watch. And I've got a lot more R2 content coming.